we're ready. You have, okay, I think we can go live. And good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, and we are on April 25th, 2022, and this is the Ocean Shores Radio Board meeting, and here at 10:30. So let's go ahead and start it up. Let's do our roll call real quick for those board members who are here.
Bill Kraus, present. Gardner, present.
Rosanna present.
Marty Hatfield's present. And I don't know if Dave's online yet or.
He's an excused absence. He's out of town.
Yeah, he was gonna try to jump in, but he's on a ship or something, so. All right, thank you all very much. In order to expedite the insertion of comments by Mayor John Martin, I'd like to have him go ahead and state your comments. Good morning and welcome.
Well, thanks for fitting me in. I thought it was appropriate for me to have a meeting with you guys. Number one, great job that you have done something that since I've been in Ocean Shores, even before Ocean Shores, that has not happened, is that you actually have more funding than any previous radio board has. Your vision on increasing the power to the station is something that I don't think previous radio boards ever had that vision. I mean, people would talk about it, but there's some things that you talk about and there's some things that you actually do, and you guys have actually done it. You know, it's not all come together yet, but it's moving on, and that is a reflection of the leadership of this radio station. Ocean Shores is a unique town on having a radio station. I mean, it's been around for a long time, and it has been in many different shapes and vision and finances and all that type of stuff. But it's the volunteers that keep things going. And I think you have probably one of the largest volunteer bases of any of our organizations within our city. With that, obviously, some challenges because the more people you have, the more ideas you have, and one of the things that this is my perception in talking to the people that are involved with the radio station. You're very creative, and creativity sometimes have more where you ask questions, and sometimes that's where it becomes dissension. So I really would like you guys to work together on achieving your goals. You know, the mission that you guys have talked to the council and myself about of getting the increased rate of power, becoming really the voice of the shores, because you're going to reach all the way up to Seabrook in the mountain. But with that becomes a whole different responsibility. And with that, you're going to get more people listening, and then you're going to have more people that have opinions on what you're broadcasting or not broadcasting. And so that's why this board is so important. Now, I know that Butch and I think Marty has also been working with our HR director on revising your handbook. I'm told that it's very close to being completed. And I really would like you guys to make sure all the board is involved with that, so everyone understands what the expectation is. Because my expectation is that I, as mayor, do not want to spend a lot of time managing the radio board. I mean, that's what your guys' job are. But because you have the city's license, I mean, it's licensed to the city, it's also my responsibility that things go well with it. So once you have the foundation of the rules, I need you guys to work on it. And the biggest thing is you're going to have to figure out how do you deal with things that people don't agree with. And I know that the last meeting there was a vote, and it was a split vote on whether Butch is in charge or not. with it, and I'm not going to weigh in on whether that's a good thing or not, but when you have a split vote, that's not a good thing to move forward. And so you're gonna have to figure out what your process to move forward. Because you guys right now as a radio station, you are where every other radio board had hoped to be. You're going to have more power, as far as power, when I say reach. You have the ability to do simulcast, do more with the school. I'm sure that you have the ability to bring in interns or whatever. You've created a foundation that is out selling sponsorships. You've got 2 fundraising events. The biggest New Year's show of all time in Ocean Shores. So it's there. I just don't want you guys to get derailed because this board is having concerns within the board. So you just got to figure out how to just work stuff out. And that's not gonna be easy. And because we have to be give and take, but I believe in you guys. I believe in the importance of a radio station in a small town. And it's always unique when I go and talk to other vendors because we have a radio station. And so that's the reason why I'm here. I'm very proud of what you guys have done and how you've accomplished, but at the same time, then I get my HR person has some concerns. And usually it comes back down to process. That you are every one of you are very creative, but also in the radio, again, I have not been in the radio business, but my assumption is it is very regimented of how you get things done. I mean, that you only have so many minutes to talk, when I go into your radio station, you guys have rules all over the wall with it. And so you just need to have that function of how this board works with the DJs and stuff like that. And so that's why I'm here to talk about it. Again, very pleased what you're doing, but you guys have to get the handbook done and figure out how you guys come. Any questions for me or? So anything from the city that you need, because I know when I was talking to Roy about the shed up there, is that been dealt with?
Yeah, actually, I communicated with Roy and we moved it over to Becky is kind of writing right on that project manager. We'll discuss that one later.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on course with that now, and it was helpful, but because the differences between the city proper and the way the county is doing things, it was good to get his input, but it only had limited impact at the county, I think. So
No, and I would say like anything.
Yeah.
I only have limited impact with the county.
Of course.
With it, but again, whatever we can do to do that, and you feel supported from
Yes.
Kristen?
Oh, yes, very much so. For all of the departments in the city are rallying with us if we have any needs or inquiries, and got a high level of cooperation all the way.
Okay, and then everything's been ordered that is supposed to be ordered, right?
Yeah, we're just down to the smaller details now, but yeah, nothing that is impacting the project as far as that goes.
Okay,
We gonna have some discussions, not within the board, but regarding some challenges with site access right now, because the road is in not great shape. So frankly, I'm going to talk with Scott about seeing if we can't get some hold on or rent abatement one way or another, in case we don't have the ability to get contractors in there to get their bid forecasting together. The longer we delay, the closer the longer that we don't have access to the site, the longer the delay is in them producing their contracting documents. And so we need to make sure that the site owners are responsive to our needs and saying, if we have to have road improvements done, it doesn't make any sense. We won't really have access to the site until the roads are improved. And so rather than having the rent start on June 1st, let's come up with a mutually agreeable date that once the roads get done to a point where we can have contractors look, that's when we'll start in the process of the site. So it's just a reality, there are trees and weather conditions that came up over the winter that have suffered the road a bit, and it's not easy to access today. So they're working on it or figuring out their game plan. But if we need to lean on them in any way, certainly Scott and I will work together on that.
Okay, and then I would say that on the council's agenda to just give the council an update or whatever you're going, because I believe there's a lot of people that are interested of what the plan is, when is it going to happen, and what should we see with it. So Sarah can put you as or Frank
Mhm.
could share an update too, so so whatever it needs to be, but again, I'm glad to have a local radio station that we call Ocean Shores, and the work that you do, and being volunteers is a challenge, and being a board that's in charge of volunteers is a challenge, and I have all the confidence in you guys to make it work. So thank you, thanks.
We'll communicate closely.
Yeah, and if there's anything that comes up, you know how to get a hold of me, with, or, Frank. Guys are right at the edge of just breaking through.
Well, thank you.
All right, thanks, okay.
Yeah.
Well, now I gotta go see if I can find the fire chief.
Good luck to you. Thank you.
Right, bye.
Let's move on to approval of the meeting agenda. Oh,
I
Frank.
just had a question. So you want to be on the agenda to give a status update?
Sure, is that next? No, it's
That's the 8th of May.
I'll double check. I. I've got some
Well,
family
it's
things
up
going on.
to you if you want.
Yeah, okay,
We'll
we'll
just heard the mayor talk about it.
yes, we'll talk, you and I will talk and figure out
Okay.
which one of us would be the best
Alright.
fit for that. Okay. Okay. All right, time to review the meeting agenda and see if there are any amendments or requests from the board members.
In the discussion part, second paragraph, talked about the KOSW liaison. And I would like to have it that I felt that any liaison, any other work with the North Beach Independent Media is out of scope of this body.
I have some information I'd like to share at that point, if that's okay, that may take care of that situation. I think it's okay to have it on, if does anybody else feel that there should be a removal of that from the agenda?
Not what removed, just my comments was just that, that's the comment I made the second time.
Oh, okay,
So it's,
okay,
the second meeting that I felt that way,
okay,
and I still do.
understand, okay. All right, any adjustments?
And so that's for the removal, that we don't need a liaison at all for the 501, correct?
Well, that was my feelings, but yeah, if you want.
Well, and we'll discuss it at that point. It's a lot of it's just semantics. It's how we describe it. And so we'll get there.
Yeah. Hybrid.
Yeah. Okay. Do I hear? Can I just approve the meeting notice, or do I have to have? a
We need a motion.
motion to?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to hear a motion for approving the meeting agenda.
Motion to approve the meeting agenda.
And second? Second. Okay, we'll pass that. I don't think.
Oh. All those in favor?
Oh, it's a full vote. Okay, all those in favor of approving the meeting agenda?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
thank you. That Dave?
That must be Dave.
Hey,
That's
Well-
Dave.
welcome, Dave. We missed you at the roll call, but that's okay.
Yeah, I didn't think I was gonna get in at all. I'm about 100 miles off of Ecuador. Or El Salvador.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we'll move on to public communications. We have guests who may have 3 minutes to provide their comments. And if anyone chooses to do so now, please feel free. Yes.
I have two. The first one is I'm just inquiring about why we have so many outages during the council meetings. And if there's anything being done about that. There seems to be breaks during the council meeting airing, so I have that. And then just kind of addition to my comment at the last radio board hearing, wanting to see more platform for the community to speak out on issues, point counterpoint, things like that. It is a community radio station, and it's basically the only platform the community has in Ocean Shores. There's no newspaper, there's no, so it would really be great to seeing that. Going forward, of course, we know elections are coming up and there'll be campaigning, and so I also want to make a point that it would be really nice to see everybody get a fair shot, whether it's debating, whether it's just getting all of the everybody on there in the same time slots with each other, but instead of having one interviewer, maybe possibly having 2 interviewers, as to say, maybe someone from each side of the fence, so everybody can get their opinion, their questions and answers taken care of. I just think that we really, being a community radio, we really need to get the community more involved and give the community a better chance at a platform to get those issues out there. Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay.
You do have Gina Rawlings online.
Oh, okay.
Gina, do you have a public comment?
No,
Dawn?
I don't. But
Dawn,
thank you.
Do you have a public comment?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yeah, just good morning, everybody. And my only comment is I just wonder on your webpage, I continue to have trouble, not on my computer screen, it works just fine, but on my iPad, bringing up a button that lets me listen. It's not on my screen I'm looking at right now. It's the button's right there. It's always there up in the upper right hand side. But on my iPad, there's nothing there, and I have to flip the screen around and move my hand across it or something. And somehow I'm not sure what I do, but eventually I get an arrow to listen. But I wonder if that could be placed on when the iPad is being used. Have that access arrow on there permanently, because I'm not really sure what I do to get it to work. Okay. Otherwise, everything's going great, and thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Thank you, Don. Okay.
Did we approve the minutes or just the meeting agenda? Did I miss something there?
I'm sorry, say again.
The approval of the minutes, did we skip that?
Skip that.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I blew right through that. I'm sorry. Good catch. Okay, well, we'll have to reverse action for just a moment and go back up to approval of minutes. I threw a check mark next to it when I was doing approval of the meeting agenda. So the minutes from the previous meeting, I hope everybody had their copies. That would be great. I know they were distributed. Were there any adjustments to the minutes that anyone would like to see?
I think just my comment that I felt that the discussion that was out of the scope of our that wasn't documented in there.
When they redo the minutes, they want they want the 30,000-foot view, so we can't, if we're gonna put a lot of comments that everybody makes about, different things, the minutes are gonna be substantially longer, but I was asked to make sure that we do the minutes from the 60,000-foot level, and, you know, so not to get into the minutia of everything, so that's what I'm trying to do. So if that direction is gonna change, I guess, we'll have to have a chat and figure that out.
Yeah, I think the minutes, I watched the show, the meeting and after the fact, and I feel like the meeting minutes are pretty accurately describing the general course without getting into the quotes and specific every nuance. So did you want to add something
Yeah,
there?
that's fine.
Okay, okay, all right. So let's see, can I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve minutes.
Thank you, Rosanna. A second? Okay.
Second.
got it. Seconds, we had Tom and Daryl simultaneous, so we're good on that. And a full vote on that, please, those who accept.
Aye.
Or an aye or
Aye.
thank you. Okay, very good. All right, we'll move on down to reports where we last left off. On the chair report, I'll just say that the progress, as Mayor Martin described, on our tower site relocation, transmitter increase for KOSW was moving along nicely. As I described to him and the rest of us, there were a couple of literally bumps in the road, but nothing that is a large stall to the project at all. We are in the process of ordering the actual building. Almost all of the equipment is on order. There are a few things associated that we want to wait until the timing is right to order, but we're in good shape for that. I'm very pleased with the activities that have been going on at the studio. Butch and his crew have finished out the interior of the new storage building at the studio. And there's heat in there and light in there, and it is starting to get filled up with both equipment that's associated with the transmitter site change, as well as studio equipment that has previously just been crammed into every corner of our tiny studio operation. So some of the interior real estate of the studios are starting to become available again. And I know that the staff has some ideas on additional recording positions and show prep area. So those are all very positive notes, and the station sounds good on the air, and we just appreciate that everybody's doing their tasks to help pull that together. That pretty much rolls my chair report. Trey and or Butch, would you care to step up and
Go ahead, Trey.
Nope.
not yet? You have to turn off your mic or your mic back on. No audio.
No,
Oh, nothing to say, I guess. Okay.
Same thing happened last night.
Oh, at the beginning. Well, so would you like to fill in the gap?
Okay, you already talked about the shed. And that was our main goal since the last time. It's been a work in progress for the last couple of weeks, actually. And I gotta thank Trey and Shipwreck, Greg Carter. He did a lot of that insulating. That's a dirty job.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's up and running. We cleaned out the station and we got a new workstation there for the volunteers to come in and work on our playlist. Which there, it isn't a mess anymore. It looks pretty, in fact, I've got to do something to the walls now because it echoes in there when you try to record.
You can send the cleaners now.
Yeah, get the cleaners in there. So that's the big thing. We're working on the website. I got a call from Lee Schoensberger.
Bunenberger.
Oh,
What is it?
Funded.
Bunenberger.
Okay, And he's gonna be getting with Damon, talking about the transfer from GoDaddy from Host Papa.
Yep.
That's in the works. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Could you ask those guys to, do the webpage to check out the iPad configuration on it? So that
That's,
it's just, typically it's just a little button thing over to the side when you create a page.
Yeah,
mhm.
but it has to carry over to the mobile app part,
Yeah, the
and that's
mobile
the tricky part.
See, on Android, it works fine, at least on mine, little arrows on the bottom of the screen, you touch it, and come on.
Yeah.
But there, I guess it's different configurations depending on.
iPhone or Android.
Yeah.
iPad versus iPhone, there are even subtle differences there, and
Some of that stuff you can do a preview on those
Mhm.
other.
I'm gonna have to have them look.
oh yeah, we switched to the web version.
Yeah, you see the web version.
I'll look at it when
Yeah.
I get back to the office.
That's way above my pay grade, I don't have.
Yeah, we'll address that, because that is something that
And we will be.
leaves a lasting impression, you know.
We will be addressing, since there's quite a few elections coming up. Is it this fall when the elections are? Yeah, and so how we handle the politics on that. And every year that we try to do that, we try to be fair as we possibly can. We always, something
Something happens.
happens.
Yeah.
But we're gonna try to see if we can do it, work around a little bit different this time and see if we can make that work. Looking forward to going with the full power sometime, hopefully in June, and that's about my report.
Sooner the better.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Butch. Thanks, Trey. All right, technology report. Let's see, the FCC has been making improvements with FEMA on the emergency alert system. They actually just today, I haven't read the report yet, but they released a new combined effort between FEMA and the FCC to kind of clean up some of the elements of the emergency alert system. Not so much from the broadcast side, but more from what's called the WEA, which is the wireless emergency alert system that triggers your telephone, your cell phone. There is the FCC rules on emergency alert tests is that they're supposed to occur weekly at random times and dates within the week. This is for the broadcast side. They haven't established that for WEA, your wireless phone type of notifications yet. But there has become kind of a rule of thumb that most of the testing will occur during the daytime so that people are not awakened in the night with a blaring test. Because it's bad enough when it's a real thing, but it's worse if it's just a test that just shoot up in the middle of the night. So most broadcasters tend to do their testing between about 8 AM and 10 PM. You can do them, but it's kind of an intrusion to your community, depending on what your circumstances are. They're looking at addressing that for the WEA for your wireless phone alerts, because there was recently one that was a mistaken alert that was sent, I think it was in Georgia. And it would happen at like 2:30 in the morning, and a lot of people were very irate that it was a erroneous test that came on. So now everybody at the FCC is anxious to quiet the waters, and so they're in a cooperative effort to try and address that. We'll see what their rules end up like, and if there are any trickle down effects that will impact the radio aspects and television aspects of broadcast. So that's about it for my technology report right now. Frank?
I just had one question and a request if it's possible. Can we test the broadcast prior to the meeting starting?
I'm sorry, say again?
Test the broadcast
Oh,
at this council meeting prior to the meeting starting?
sure. Do you want to address that? We're testing the program link from the convention center prior to it actually going on the
Well,
air.
we always do.
But what happened?
I don't know what happened. Ken ran the thing last night, so I don't.
So the cord that goes from your guys' setup into the convention center wall went bad,
Oh,
and they didn't have another one. Yeah,
Shoot.
So that's what
So
happened.
then
last-
somebody at the convention center had scrambled to find us one?
Correct.
Oh,
I don't quite understand.
I don't either, but
That's just the
it's
only
okay.
part I
We'll,
know that.
we'll
was-
sort it out. We'll sort it out, but, because there may be other nuances involved in the whole process, but, oh, thank you, Sarah. That's helpful to know that was the challenge.
No. Can you guys hear me now?
You're very hollow sounding, Trey.
Oh, well, I was gonna say that Ken and I talked before we went on, so this idea that we didn't test it, we did.
But the
Then it-
challenge here, the problem is you're talking from or they're talking from their headset microphone or some local microphone. You're not actually testing the audio coming from.
No, no. Well, what I'm trying to say is we talked, we could hear the mayor talking in the background, but when it came time to do the gavel, it just dropped.
Okay,
It just
Okay.
dropped, and on the Comrex system from inside the studio. It said that no remotes were connected, so I think that the Wi-Fi dropped. And, you know, there are a lot of things that we can do, but sometimes the connectivity issues with the convention center. When the internet drops, there's just not much you can do except, you know, try to get it rebooted.
okay, well, we'll get into that separately, partly because your audio is really difficult to follow closely, Trey. But obviously, there are a couple of things going on, so we'll talk about that and figure out a good strategy as an alternative. So we can start improving things. Perhaps we can get a hardwired connection rather than rely on the Wi-Fi.
Let me answer Frank, it's not about last night, but we always test. There's a button on there that goes back, was it Boston or someplace?
Yeah, East Coast.
East Coast, we test it. If you can hear the music going there, that means it's connecting both ways.
Right.
Okay, and we also have the dashboard at the station that tells you when you're connected both ways. We also have the dashboard at the Comrex that tells you. That's why we're always there 45 minutes early and test it out to make sure it's working. What happened last night, as far as I know, is it was working, then it dropped down.
So maybe we should get some, an extra cable.
We did have an extra.
That's why I'm a little mystified too.
Yeah, I don't, that's what I was told, that the guy told me that, well, the cable was bad and he thought that we had a new one and.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know, but I know my phone gets texts, you know, in the meeting, people are going, hey, the radio signal's down, I can't hear what's going on.
Right.
You know,
Well, I haven't had a chance to talk to Ken yet, so.
Yeah,
I talked to
okay,
Ken.
well, I didn't know what you guys were doing, I was just requesting. it.
No, that's
You know.
good. I appreciate your bringing it up.
So it sounds like it was the last mile thing, or the first mile, the first 500 feet of getting a signal besides it exits into it. Well, maybe we ought to think about setting a microphone in the room next to people and going around the system.
Yeah, the problem is the speakers are all overhead.
Yeah.
So we'll again, we'll look at it holistically, look for the best solution
Yeah.
and make a choice and go for it.
Yeah, that was one of
Well, I'm really glad to hear that I'm not the only one that's ever had an issue with the Comrex system, but I know when I was doing it, we had 2 brand new cables in that box, just in case the cable did go out. So sorry to hear about the issues they had.
Thank you, Dave. Yes.
What's hardwired? What is that? Is that what, does that make a big difference or make it more?
Okay, well, let's, yeah, it would help eliminate the chance that the Wi-Fi is interrupted due to a cell site failure or switching, because that sometimes happens. If the switching is too slow, the hotspot says, oh, I don't trust this connection anymore, so it'll dump. There are a couple of different directions that we can go for that. So we'll work with the folks at the convention center to make sure we get the type of feed that would be best. And then we can use the wireless, the Wi-Fi one as a backup in case something happens the other way. So that kind of approach. I
That's
also
too important to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, okay, well, fantastic. Thank you, Frank. And by the way, thank you for your interaction on the electrical proposals for the tower site change. I really appreciate it. Okay, foundation liaison report. Well, I guess you're gonna present something, Dave?
No, all I can present is I sent a letter to the foundation as I know it, which would be Trey, Butch, and Ed Schroll on April 5th to notify us of any upcoming meetings that the foundation was going to have, so we could have a liaison there. And as of yet, we've had no communication.
Okay,
So I'm assuming that means they've had no meetings.
okay, thank you. All right, board member report. I don't have anything more than I've already stated on regular board items until we get into the next business areas. So Daryl, do you have any comments you'd like to share?
Couple of things out. Last month I presented at Washington State University's Mural Communications Symposium. And we talked about, my presentation was on sports reporting and how it's changed over the years and what the future of radio may be, and how the difference between gathering sports information was in the past, reporting on it, and the consumption of sports news, how it's changed. So there's a lot of differences and stuff over the years in the way that people get their sports stuff. And I mentioned how that, North Beach Hayaks have all of their home basketball and all of their football games broadcast on the local radio. It's like really, people were really amazed that a small 2B school has that kind of.
Great.
Also, I'm going to go next month on May 11th to the Key Code as a vendor, their post NAB event in Seattle. And that's where they have some of their local vendors come in and show the new equipment, the new gear, and new practices, a number of seminars that goes on. And there's a free lunch, so I can't pass that up.
Fantastic.
And I've been invited to talk to North Beach High School in their journalism class to talk about career opportunities and begin to kind of promote KOSW. So hopefully we'll get some kids involved and maybe direct them towards this as a career. So that's it.
Excellent, thank you. Roseanne?
No report.
No. Dave?
Nothing to report here.
Okay. All right, Thomas?
Right, hey, listen, I guess I didn't have a criteria for what you wanted for news. Is that top of the hour every 5 minutes or once a day at for an hour? But what I have for you in this packet are just several examples of what free news there is, as well as ones that are prices that are based on the income of the station or the funding of the station, as well as one that's sliding scale from $200 to $1,000 a year. So all of these are very moderately affordable, if not free at all. And
Would you want to expand on that down under the item 11 discussion where you're talking about news sources for nonprofit?
right, what I'm saying is free news services for nonprofits.
Yeah.
The packets that they have include those sources,
Okay.
as well as other sources that are listed on the letter that I have
Okay.
there. Those sources include Democracy Now!, as well as American Public Media, and your university, Washington University, sent me a list of other things that Alternate, Congressman, Pacifica Radio, Public Radio International. All those resources are basically free, if not free at all, if not totally free. And I think that we should consider those options if we are looking at trying to keep costs down. And as far as presentations, what types of news, weather and information comes across at these stations, I'm sure, as I also sent you a list of these stations that already use Democracy Now! And American Public Media. And it sounds pretty, should I say, nonpartisan, as well as objective and factual reporting, and which is what we want for all of that. But I just don't like to say that one of the benefits of nonprofit radio news that it provides a platform for diverse voices to be heard. So I'm hoping that we'll take this opportunity to get the community involved, citizen journalism involved. As you mentioned, something about the students, we definitely want to be able to utilize them this time in a productive, forward moving manner that will not only benefit their career, but benefit the station. Another important benefit of nonprofit community radio news, it provides the coverage of local events, city council issues, art, entertainment, and stories that are often overlooked by the main media. So once again, I'm hoping citizen journalism, student organizers will come forward to the station and present their little bit of news. And I also like to say that because of that, these people will have a strong commitment to the station. The people, their friends and their relatives and their co-workers and their students will have a strong commitment to the station, which will also benefit financially to the station. And I like to be able to make sure that the station is a platform for underrepresented voices. One of the things that Grace Harbor County promotes itself on is being a friend of senior citizens. I don't see that. I look for, because of our community here being made up mostly of seniors, I like to see more of that, more talks about Medicare, and that's something that's a self-promote gig by AARP, which is a paid membership organization, and that's something that's free and unencumbered if you don't have to pay. So like the little senior center, as well as the rest home, providing information about their seniors and as well as we have the Lions Club and other places that do present information and do things for seniors and veterans. But that's news coming from there. So when I want to cooperate with these people, they have a marketing and public relations department. Each of the library, blah, 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 city council. So if we would talk with these organizations, say, hey, what do you want to hear? And what kind of donations can you give from your marketing department to help present news about Eagles Club, to present news about the library? We'll get a much broader perspective of what's going on with the school districts, what's going on with our road maintenance, what's going on with whenever our power starts out. So in conclusion, I guess I like to say news plays a critical role, as the FCC notes the needs of the community must be met by the station. And the station must provide a platform for voices to be heard, and that covers local events. Having a live audio of a meeting is not public affairs, it's not presenting information and a perspective that everyone can appreciate and understand and debate about. So I hope that we can support one of these or all of these nonprofit, nearly free or free news sources, and utilize them to expand our station platform. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tom. All right, we'll move on to old business. Public Works Department radio project report. So I met with John Martin, Becky Leach, Scott Anderson, Frank, I think you were there for part of the meeting, if not, and Ann Reese, who was a contractor to the city as a project manager contractor. But most of that, I believe, is taken over by Becky now. And we just discussed the from scratch to on air the project, so that the project coordinators from within the city could actually participate in this. Up until that point, just a handful of us have been kind of driving the train, as they say, or driving the bus. And now it's nice to have certainly more direct contact with the city on the actual construction challenges and direction that we're heading in. So this has worked out well. We've had a couple of subsequent meetings, but that was the primary thrust of the Public Works Department, getting it under their kind of umbrella of involvement. And we're also pulling in other resources from the city that are appropriate to at least review some of the projects as we go along, or to offer guidance on ways of implementing these changes that we might need to make along the way. So I think we're in good shape with that. And we're communicating daily right now on trying to get our contractors lined up and the rest of the gear ordered, and try to get it all to merge together as quickly as possible so that we don't end up having to pay rent at a site that we're not able to use quite yet because we just are missing something. So yes, and it's becoming more and more important to have that relationship with the city as we get to this kind of critical point of road access to the site that I described a little earlier. So that's my public works. And anybody have any questions? Okay, hearing none. Let's move on to item number 9, which is appointment of station managers. At the last meeting, there was a vote that actually there was a nomination. Let's see, there was a move to reappoint as a group the nominees of Trey and Butch. It ended up in a 2-vote yes, 2-vote no, because I was not present at the time. And I think I'd like to, at this point, have a
Point of order.
Yes,
Point of order.
Go ahead.
And since that meeting, I looked up the nuances of that, because I know we had quite a bit of discussion at that meeting whether these positions should be nominated as a group or as specific people. And what I came across was, according to Robert's Rules of Order, since these folks have different titles and different functions, that they should be done as separate nominations. And when I did that at the last meeting, I should have just declared the motion as null, because it's improper to put them in as a group since they have totally different job descriptions. And so that being what I learned, I'd like to nominate Trey as the position he has of I can't remember the letters he uses, but the technical side of the station, and just do these separate. But anyway, that's my thing. I just want to bring up that point of order, and then I'd also like to nominate Trey.
Okay, let's see, how do we unwind this? So are you actually making a motion, or were you just clarifying the playing field?
I suppose I did both. I tried to clarify the playing field, or so it wouldn't get as quite as confused as it did last time. And when I watched the meeting too, and then I tried to do research on that specific topic of, is it proper to nominate? And I took into everything with the bylaws and such, which remain silent on that point. But then, according to Robert's Rules of Order, since the people do have different job titles and different job descriptions, it suggests that they be under separate nominations. And so what I ended that with was a nomination to just get things rolling, to nominate Trey as the with the same position he has.
Okay. So Trey, could I ask you real quick, do you tend to live under the moniker of ops manager? Something like that? I'm just trying to identify the
Yes,
delineation between and program manager, programming manager. Okay, so we have an ops manager and we have a programming manager. Okay. So for clarity's sake, I'd like to hear a motion to first clarify that we are dealing with station managers being plural, number one. So could I hear a motion to have it identified that there are two individuals, in essence, two individual positions that we are addressing here? Not at once, but we will address them sequentially. First one, since it's already come up, would be Trey as ops manager. So Dave, do you want to phrase a motion to appoint Trey as ops manager? Is that basically where you are with that?
Operations manager, right, ops.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
second,
Okay, we'll give it to, out of my left ear, I heard it just a moment before yours were that, so we'll say Daryl seconded the motion. Do we have any discussion on the matter of Trey acting as the ops manager for KOSW Radio? Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, let's go to a vote to put Trey in as ops manager for KOSW Radio. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, no, none opposed, okay.
Tom, are you abstaining?
Yeah.
So you have an
Oh,
abstention.
we have one, okay. Okay. Now, moving on to appointment of the,
Wait, I'm sorry.
yeah, I think we just did it. Appointment of station manager as program director is Butch Carl Larson. Could I hear a motion for that? Individual.
I move that we appoint, ask Carl to continue on as program manager.
Okay, thank you. And do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Rosanna. Any discussion? Okay.
Yeah, on I've got one
Okay,
thing on discussion, and I'll keep it very brief. I just want to once again bring up the same reason I objected at the last meeting, and everybody's very familiar with my argument on that. So I'll just leave it at that without rehashing it, and move the question.
okay. All right, so those in favor, please say aye of having Butch as a program manager for KOSW Radio. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have 3 ayes, and those opposed?
No.
Okay, we have 1 no and abstaining. Okay, Tom is abstained. Okay, no. The motion passes with Butch as program manager. And once again, as a reminder, we are just recommending to the Ocean Shores City Council that this be the direction that the board has endorsed. We don't have the power to actually place them in position. We can just advise to the city as to how we believe that they should carry it.
Did you vote for Trey, yea or nay? Because you did for Butch, right?
Yes,
You did? Oh,
I voted for both.
Okay,
Yes,
sorry.
yeah, thank you. Okay, well, thank you all for that. That's excellent. I appreciate that. Board member liaison under item number 10. So. I think we got off on a wrong foot. I was not present at the last meeting, or else I would have said what I'm going to say now. And that is that I believe that from my listening to the meeting and understanding the circumstances that to the best of my knowledge, I understand the circumstances. There was a consideration that a board meeting of a 501c3 entity foundation, could use those terms interchangeably for 501c3s in Washington state. Because the 501c3 is focused on supporting a city or municipality owned entity, that there would be a relationship that could be drawn between a similarity, I guess I should say, between the way the Ocean Shores Library works and the board that runs the or that oversees the operation of the Ocean Shores Public Library. This is a different situation. The North Beach Independent Media Foundation is a 501c3 that is a private 501c3 in Washington state. It's not associated directly with any municipality or any public entity. It's just a foundation that's there to collect funds and disperse them to various entities. And it's their reporting. They're not directly associated whatsoever with the city itself. Under those situational description, that situational description, there's no state requirement that a 501c3 private entity like such as North Beach Independent Media to have open meetings. Number one, they do not have to make announcements of meetings. They do not have to report their meetings. And they are not required to be open to the public in any fashion unless they should choose to. My understanding from the members of the North Beach Independent Media that I've spoken with, they're not interested in having public meetings. They're not required to. It's extraordinary that an entity associated with a municipality in particular, in our case, is trying to insert themselves or insert us into the operation of a private 501c3 in Washington state. Is not a good thing to have been brought up in the first place. It should not have even been aired. So I'm recommending that rather than try to find some circuitous way of inserting someone into an entity that we have no business without their invitation, we can internally say we want a liaison. And it could be any of our board members. It could be a rotating basis if that makes people feel good. Frankly, I think it would be the responsibility of the secretary of this advisory board to reach out when it's time that KOSW is seeking funds and to communicate a request for funding from this private Washington State 501c3 I've actually asked them to consider, because we can't tell them to, but I asked them to consider developing an email address that would be something akin to inquiries by parties seeking funding from our 501c3 at North Beach Independent Media. Some kind of an email address where we know that they're going to only have requests for funding appear, so it doesn't clog up their mailboxes. It gives us a point of contact with them, and will, in our letter of introduction to them, would just state that you know, periodically we're going to be seeking funds. You guys, they already know the circumstances, so we can be as descriptive or not as needed. And it's just that simple. So I'd like to see if there's any feedback I can get from our board members.
I got plenty of feedback.
Okay.
I totally, for one, totally disagree. All, of course, 501c3s are not necessarily public, and it's on record. I mean, you can certainly go through our meetings, and you would find just a few months ago that that Butch stated, and you'll find it in the video, that those meetings were open to the public, and that somebody could attend if they wanted to. And now to lock them down and say, oh, this is private and it's totally improper, I disagree, and I would like to see this tabled until next month's meeting. I mean, we've already moved and acted on this, and I don't know what there is to hide on this. It's not like we're not turning over all of our advertising capabilities to this 501c3, and for us them to have absolutely no accountability, where we don't get any sort of report on what is available, what may not be available, should the station need equipment or have some kind of request down the road. Then I don't know how we can operate, with any kind of knowledge about that. And I really think that the similarities that were drawn between the library and the 501c3 and this one for the North Beach Independent Media are very similar in nature, and I would like to see I would like to just proceed and have these I know that they're fundraisers. They're certainly all public. I cooked all the spaghetti for the last one, so I every strand of it, and so I just don't know why there would be any kind of issue with this. And anyway, I really think that this should be tabled until the next meeting, where we have a chance to look into this a little bit deeper and not shoot from the hip. Since we already just had a motion that passed at the last meeting, to just come up and undo it at the next meeting doesn't make a lot of sense.
The motion that passed at the last meeting, Dave, was
To have a liaison.
yeah, rotating, let's see, vote to amend, yes, 103, amendment to rotate board meters every 3 months. Looks like it passed, or amendment passed, but the original motion died. So the original motion was to have a rotating board member. So see, all of that can still stay in place. It's just that you're not attending meetings. All you're doing is being the official representative of this board to the an outside entity.
That's why I think this should be tabled until we can maybe look into it a little bit deeper, and I don't know how you're a liaison to meetings that you're not aware happened or happen or are never going to happen or any of that kind of stuff. And I just yeah. Anyway, that's all I've got to say.
I mean, if you take into consideration any other board in the state, there are hundreds of private boards in the state that meet privately and hold their 501c3 meetings privately. They're not required to be open to the public, but what I would like to do is, as much as I don't like to put a little extra pressure on the city, but I would like to see, Sarah, would we be able to have Brett taking pass on this?
Yeah.
I think that's the next point. The city attorney, so I at this point, I'll ask Sarah to please present this to the city attorney for clarification and direction.
I'll do that and MRSC.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Derek.
And I'll tell you what, I'm gonna be back in there. I know it's gonna be a couple weeks from now, but I'll be back in there on the 8th. And as soon as I return, I know I had presented the entire board at one point with arguments on why we should have something to do with the 501c3, and they were short and to the point, and they were all drawn up with a little bit of legalese. And so when I get back, I just want to let Sarah know that I will also forward that document, Sarah, to you, because I don't believe I can do it from this ship.
Okay. Sure, we can deal with that. Go ahead, Gerald.
Again, I feel like talking about this other 501c3 foundation is way out of the scope of this, just of our, what we're supposed to do. I think it falls in the same category as talking about we should have a person that goes to pause and go sees what they do and make sure they're doing things, or the food bank, or a number of other things, the community club here, that's part of it. I'm not sure if that's a 501c3, but it's other organizations that's way beyond the scope of what this radio board should be directing our attention, our efforts towards. So I think it's out of order.
And just as a point of clarification that I think I can make right now, Dave, in particular, is the fundraising elements available to KOSW are not limited to the fundraising efforts of the North Beach Independent Media 501c3 foundation. There's no contract that states that they are exclusive. There is no understanding that they are exclusive. They may bring some benefit to those who are seeking funding for the 501c3 activities, whereas an independent 501, they can pay individuals to or reimburse or whatever they want to do. It's up to them in the matter of collecting funds. We received opinion that the city is not likely to support any kind of allocation of funds toward fundraising by board members or other entities that are associated with the radio station, but it doesn't exclude it. It just means that if any of us as board members want to go out and knock on some doors and see what kind of funding we can raise, that's fine too. There's zero expectation of any kind of reimbursement at this point. Somebody else in an independent 501c3 goes out, they can knock on the very same doors, they can collect the same kind of funds, they can decide how they're going to disperse those funds, because that's the way their business works. If they want to choose that some of it can go to the person that without actually beating the pavement, fantastic for them. If they say, no, we want 100% of it to go towards whatever we're going to be funding, that's up to them. So I don't see that this is far afield at all from what you're talking about there.
Well, I wouldn't mind seeing. If it's legal, because we're a city agency, to have two rate structures. A regular rate structure that would be for things, and then you have the high bulk, like in. Going back to the commercial radio, an ad agency rate, which could be applied to other 501c3. So if PAWS decides to go out and buy a sufficient amount of. I'm not gonna say advertising, but promotional funds.
Mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, thinking enough dollar, hit a certain threshold, that they would get. A discount and get those same number for elected tenants.
Well, again, those are business nuances, I think that can be dealt with easily enough without, that's just a matter of figuring out if we want to do that.
Right.
And maybe part of this will kind of morph as the North Beach Independent Media gets up to speed, as we find out what our true routine operating costs are, and we can have a better picture of the what it takes to get the job done, to get the word out to the public. And if it makes sense that we have a tiered sponsorship
Rate card, yeah.
rate card in essence. To borrow the term again from commercial, so be it. I don't think it's a upsetting matter. I think it's just a matter of how we're gonna let things run. Tom, you look like you have a question.
I was concerned about when money is available from this organization and we request it. Are there any guidelines or stipulations or that they give to the station for using those funds?
There shouldn't be.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's like Corporation for Public Broadcasting or any other 501. They make their own decisions. How much, what percentage, how much of it's gonna go towards operating costs, how much of it's gonna go, how much are they gonna allocate towards equipment? How much are they gonna allocate toward public outreaches? There's a non-commercial entity that I work with that is part of the CMAR group, medical group, and they own a couple of radio stations. And when they're seeking funding from outside resources, that's exactly it. They look at the 501c3 publishes a list and says, we have funds available for these categories, because that's what they decided they want to have the money go towards. Here's some to support sports at school. Here's some to support the radio station sporting side. Here's some to well, particularly in the medical group, you know, they look at the general community needs for medical and make their allocation decisions there. But yeah, those are all things that are both under the control of the 501, but also are areas where we can reach out and ask for specific funding if we choose.
Okay, well, you know, I guess my concern again is the fact that I really like the real station staying independent of any other outside funding. If this entity decides to donate money to the station, so be it. But I don't want us to be under the impression, oh, we need $3,000 for a new transformer. Are we going to depend on these guys? Are we gonna go with our hat or our hand or our knees to this, or are we going, or that's what I want to show us.
Okay, well, and that is a really valid question, because traditionally, what we've done is we've gone to the city and said, we need a new transmitter, a new microphone, or whatever. Kind of the vision that I see right now is there are two directions. We can either go to the 501c3 first and ask them for funding and say, hey, we need a new microphone. You guys can help us out, it'd be awesome. If that fails and we don't get funding in a timely fashion, or they say, no, we don't have any money available for that, then we have to reach out to the city and ask the city, which has been their traditional role, in supporting the radio station. If the city comes back and says, we can't get behind you on this one for whatever reason, then we have to turn ourselves on to the fundraising side of the equation and have our own people go out and say, geez, we really are desperate, we need some help with this.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
I've mentioned this several times, and I think it's really the only avenue to go if we're going to be, we're definitely independent of this entity or the city. I've already mentioned that subscribers are really radio subscribers are the only way for us to stand on our own 2 feet without the city and without another entity. Now, I don't want to rehash what I said before, but I sure like to see some motion moving towards that. $10, $20 a month subscribers. And someone mentioned to me that, well, then they'll want to have control of the station. Well, who's got control of the station now? Isn't it the listeners who have control of the station now?
Well, no, I mean, the city council has control.
Well, you know, in the sense of, yeah,
Yeah. No, but I hear you, and subscribers gets to be an interesting angle for funding. It can be done. We just have to look into the subtleties of what it takes to make it work and make it a success. The challenge becomes, you don't have to be a subscriber to listen to the station.
no.
You know, so that's kind of the tricky part, but you can get subscribers and give them mention, just like we do with our Martin Birdie Liquor or whomever we have as current sponsors.
All right, well, you know, I think that $10 or $20 a month, probably a tax write-off, and just like Corporation for Public Broadcasting says, this program is brought to you by the British Empire and subscribers like you. You know, it doesn't get, it doesn't question the list of subscribers.
Yeah, we could, I mean, we're small enough that we could do that, and that might be a nice enticement.
And I think there are enough people who are here to support of the station, that they'll gladly donate $10, $20 a month to make sure the station stays independent of any autocratic entity. And so, and I'm not sure what method or how to start that. But I sure like to see that move forward. I like to see that move forward because when you expand the station, you're going to increase the listeners. Be sure also, you're going to increase people who, hey, I like what Butch is playing, and I want to make sure it keeps going like that. Here's my $10 or my $120 for the year. And
to dovetail with that, one of the big picture visions to share is that we also want to encourage people to remember the station in their will, or and other folks that have resources available that they're willing to pass on.
broken down car.
Yeah, it's one of those sensitive areas, but at the same time, it makes sense
Right.
to ask for that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So, no, it's just a matter of having I mean, since this is all really coming together now, it's a more matter of getting everybody to see the same vision on these types of matters.
Okay, so how do I expand it? How do I create a vision that everyone can relate to or look at?
Well, a comparative, perhaps, Daryl, you have a.
You know, my suggestion would be to put a one sheet of some kind of a basic plan that we can all grasp onto on subscribers,
Right.
how we'd wanna
Interact with them and what the.
well, how much, what the mechanics would be to become a subscriber and how we would notify people. And when you get what kind of, just your general thought, because you're really good about putting things on paper, just something that we can all grasp onto and then run with it.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea. Okay. Fantastic. All right, so, before we move off of the board member liaison, which we are still technically, even though we've skirted all around these things. We're gonna hold item 10 until we get some guidance from Brent and or other input is received at the next board meeting. I think that should give us enough time to have the parties who want to have their voice heard on the matter of an actual specific liaison member and what it is. I'm not quite sure completely what it is that their job function would be, but I think we could. Do I need to have a vote to hold it in abeyance or, okay, all right, we're just gonna hold that for this until our next meeting and we'll revisit item number 10. All right, we're into new business. Any new business to be brought before the board?
Yeah, I got one piece. I'd like, I don't know that I need a motion for it. I just think it'd be something we've discussed in the past and I'm sorry, somebody else, go ahead.
No, that's you, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I didn't know if somebody else was saying something, but no, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see at the our board meetings, and I'd like to ask Butch to start bringing a list of the hours, of the volunteer hours on a monthly basis of both. It could be total, or it could be it'd be better if it was broken down by the hours that are on air versus you know the other stuff, you know, events, doing the shed, doing some stuff like that, and then and of course I discussed this with you, Marty, in the past, and a couple other folks, and I think that it would be to our benefit to get these numbers out into the public, so the only time we're appearing at a city council meeting is not with our handout, but also to point out, like some of the other organizations in the city do, at a you know, maybe at one board meeting a month or city council meeting, I mean a month, to let them know, you know, the amount of hours that are being donated on a constant basis to the city. I just think it's a piece of goodwill, and we can use all the goodwill that we can get. So I'd like to I don't really think I should have to make a motion. That shouldn't be something that we force anybody to do. They should just I would hope that you know, that's something we can accomplish.
Yes, I think that's Butch.
That'd be in Tracy's part.
Okay. All right, we'll put Trey on the hook for generating a report, and then based on availability for council meetings, we'll do a presentation on a routine basis. I think that's a fine point, Dave. Thank you. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Trey.
Okay, we used to have sign-up sheets, one for when people were on the air and one for off hours, but we got rid of that and made only a universal sheet. So being able to discern when someone is on air and when they're off air would be very difficult now.
Yeah, I think that'd be fine, because you know, we pretty much have a set number of hours every week that you know, that we have DJs on, so it wouldn't be you know, it wouldn't be a big huge task to figure out general, you know, a general amount. If you just supply the bulk hours, that'd be great, because I think any of us could look at the calendar and figure out how many volunteer hours are being done every week on air, and then subtract that and just say, hey, this is a general number. This is on the air and this is off, but you know, so we're exceeding it's not to be exact. It's just just to show the hundreds of hours that are going into this every month.
Well,
Very good.
I would also note that I have been tracking this for 3 years.
Great, thank you, Trey. Well, I'll be able to see the trends easily enough, so when we have excess on-air volunteer numbers showing up, we'll know that those aren't, like you say, those are the ones we can separate out and say they're not directly related to on-air activities. Something like that. So excellent. Well, thank you. I appreciate the suggestion, Dave, and thanks for the support, Trey. We'll implement that. Let's move on to Tom's going to outline a couple of things that he's worked up on the various news sources for nonprofits. Do you want to expand on that now for a minute? Or do you feel like you covered that?
Yeah, I think I pretty much covered that. But I would like to understand the news as it is now. If I can ask what or whoever.
Oh, Trey? About the news?
Trey had charge of the news.
I'd like to know about the news now. I'd like to know what is consistent, what PSAs are you using, what types of information are you sharing with the public that the community needs to know?
Okay, let's see. What specifically do you want to know about the news?
I'd like to know how much local news there is.
Well, we
I'm
get,
not talking about the live broadcast of meetings. I'm talking about actual reporting.
well, our news department is a rip and read department, basically. We get news from news sources and I prepare it for Tom and Tom reads it.
Local news,
So, what?
local news, you say you rip and tear, where do you rip and tear that from?
The Daily World, KXRO, the stations in Seattle. Sometimes the Olympian, although their stuff really pretty much mirrors what's on the other stations. Other sources include Northwest News Network, KXNN, KUOW, sometimes KVKW, but their stories are usually only 3 or 4 sentences long, so they don't really flesh out news stories. And then from time to time, we have various ones of our volunteers report in, when there was a shooting up in the North Coast. Tom got, started talking to some people and he did a call-in report a year ago when we were having really bad power outages and terrible traffic issues. I actually went out and scoped out the area and called in to Butch, I think 2 or 3 times, and we did the reports out over the air. We have had other people sometimes call in when there's like been an accident or a fire or something like that. But basically the news department is me and Tom. Basically.
Great, thank you for your time.
And then as to PSAs, we are signed up with PSA director and also the Ad Council. And so periodically I will download they send out alerts about, what the newest national and regional PSAs are. So from time to time I go grab them. We have a huge rotation file so that people don't hear the same one, KDUX, they tend to run the same PSAs every night for several nights in a row. We do not do that. We have a giant rotation file. Also, people send in PSAs. We actually have a dedicated PSA submittal email, and we get them on that. But other times people bring them in, and so it depends. if they're usually things that are gonna happen within the next month or two, either Butch or I make sure that, if they're emailed in, that we print them out. If they're brought in, they get put on the board for, our volunteers to read while they're doing their shifts. If they're more long-term things, we often get them recorded so that and I will also say we have two different PSA rotations. We have national rotations and local rotations. So of course, I think that pretty much to explain what they are. The national ones are, of course, from national sources. The local ones are from more local sources and ones that we have recorded ourselves.
So unless the library, or the, senior centers actually sends you a PSA, you won't use it then?
No, I just said people bring them to us all the time.
Okay. I guess, okay, that answers my question. Thank you so much.
So I think what you're asking for is perhaps a way, a formal way to, another avenue, kind of a pull method instead of a push. The push is the, we was to reach out and try to bring it in. Because getting all this news on a daily basis is like a full-time job. It's a lot to ask for a volunteer. So maybe we need to have some automated ways to get some of this stuff in. Perhaps, I think what you're asking for, Tom, is maybe a form that you could fill out that could perhaps be on the webpage that would automatically come in, and then at least it'd be a way that other people could push stuff to you.
Or even contact sources like the library with that. Hey, this is an opportunity for you to send in weekly events at Chess Club or what's going on here. Same thing that's going on with the school.
Because I think they're doing some of that stuff, but it's like to help some of the other, if you listen to the morning show, it's the same, a lot of it's the same interviews. But filling up 2 hours is a big job. That's a big job to try to find interviews. And so maybe we're looking for another avenue to get more of that stuff. I think that's what you're asking for, right?
Yeah, because we already do several departments within the city.
Yes.
Plus the library, plus the fresh water, plus the county,
Oh, yeah.
plus the master gardener
Yes.
program. So we have a lot of
Regular.
every day of the week, almost,
Yeah.
with the exception of perhaps some of the weekend. There are live interactions with entities that are outside of the radio station. You know, they're either coming in to visit with Tom or perhaps even some of the DJs that they had. And so we're getting a lot of input to the station and out over the air relative to activities that are important here in the community. And I suppose if we could, we could assign somebody to go down a roster of the complete list of activity oriented groups that are in the city. Because I mean, it goes far afield, everything from the beach cleanup crews and all sorts of things that are going on kind of behind the scenes that would probably enjoy having their perspective brought over the air. So they would
Elks Club, Lions Club.
Yeah, sure.
And a lot of volunteers, they don't have anybody specifically set for promotions, the publicity manager. So I think by having an online form, it would be easy to promote on the station. Here, go to our webpage and get this form and fill it out. So if you're just somebody from the Elks Club or the Eagles Club, if you want to have those private clubs, where you can publicize that they're also doing.
Just like
We already have-
Jared, also about takes their money and they volunteer, they serve the community as well as volunteer their building for free meals. So they do the same thing. Sure. So that's how I like that out.
Okay. And you guys already have for the existing community interest. Do you have a form that you use, or do you just send us? I know I've heard your voice on the air, which say, send us an email. At so-and-so. And we'll make announcements about your event.
And that plays quite a bit. We got several people, big recordings, not just me.
But to have an actual web have that would
No, I
throw
have
to
to
that.
talk to some good people.
Yeah, yeah.
Beyond my pay grade on
Right,
that.
but yeah, let's put that on the list as an item.
That's great.
I think that's a really good idea, a good combining of efforts to both create the outreach and have a method of making that happen and bringing it into the station.
We are constantly asking people to send us flyers or information about your events that are coming on. Copeland Interpreter Center is really good about that.
I agree with that, but a lot of people
Yeah.
don't follow through.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I think those should be heard as well.
And there's a lot of times I'll be cruising around through Facebooks and I find something that, yeah, we should go ahead and announce that. And they didn't even tell us, and I'll just grab it off there and put it on.
Yeah, we did that with our sports show we do Saturday mornings, that we've had high school coaches on talking, and we found on Facebook that they had a youth baseball organization here. They kids from here, they practice here, they play in the Oakland League. We even had them on to promote that, so I mean, we're going out and finding stuff too.
Right. Well, I wish it wasn't so haphazard. I guess I'd like to find something that,
Yeah, but what, the way to not make it be there is to have an assigned marketing manager and do that.
Right. It kind of,
It's,
at this point, it's beyond our
Yeah,
our initial setup,
all right.
but we're getting there.
as a fan before as a DJ, I'll tell you, I think we do a pretty good job of finding stuff and bringing it in.
Yes, you do, because I'm pleased each time I hear something that's going on. I mentioned the interview with certain members of the community have been outstanding. And I think Tom's done a great job as well as Butch, and I'm pleased to hear that, except I want to hear more of it. And when I hear from the museum one time, it excites me. I want to hear it again. And how would I do that? You know, that's the question.
I'll tell you, this Saturday, we got the youth sports folks calling in for an interview. So,
Okay, we've got one quick item.
One quick question, I guess, to Butch and Trey. Looking at all this news stuff, these news feeds, is there a way to take, if there were to be something that gave us some live news at the top of the hour to take us?
Yes, there's an issue with that, is that it takes a lot of time because they update all the time. You have to be there for those updates and get them back on the air. So
So instead of an update thing,
you have to download all the time.
does anybody send squirt stuff out live? You just click on it and there it is.
Well, we've been looking for that and it's happened.
Okay,
We were looking for satellite feed that would
There's a-
automatically come in, but they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
They,
But it is a top of mind thing that's being researched, right?
Okay.
now, to see if we can't get on that. So, okay, fantastic. We have a future meeting that will be coming up on May 23rd at 10:30 right here at the Ocean Shore Public Library. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody there. I'd like to hear a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you. I was afraid we were gonna be stuck here. Thank you, Dave. And second?
Second.
Second from Rosanna, thank you very much. The meeting is